they're thinking in this small box. And you have to fit there. And I think that box is killing lots of creativity and passion and drive in young people.
Welcome back to the brand new series of Inspiring Women Leaders with me, Ebere Akadiri. Today, I am joined by Simone Filippini. She is the president of Leadership for SDGs Foundation, which supports government political leadership to help achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the climate goals, and promoting increased quality of governments. She was a former Dutch ambassador to Macedonia. She's also served as the head of the Gender and Women Rights Department in the Netherlands Ministry of Foreign Affairs and was the CEO of one of the largest Dutch humanitarian and development organizations, CODED. Thank you so much for being here. Do you remember when we met, the year we met?
Oh, when would that have been exactly?
It was at the TEDx
event. That's right. It's 2015. 2015 TEDx Delft Women.
Yes.
Yes.
You were a speaker during the
true.
event. And I saw this lady on stage, you know, so vibrant, bold, and full of energy, passionate. And immediately after the event, I ran to you like, I need to know her. I need to know her. These are the kind of leaders that we need who can inspire the young ones like us. And I'm so thrilled you're here today.
Well, I must say that I'm always thrilled if people say these things about me because it's just how I am.
Yes.
And then if that's something that can inspire others, it's like inspiration in itself, in a way.
Yes. So, looking through your history, you've really come to the top of your career, Simone, and I'm sure you're still moving forward. But tell me, how have you got to this level of your career?
That's always difficult to answer, you know, because it is ingrained in yourself. It's connected to who you are. So it's not that, you know, I had a plan beforehand.
Okay.
I don't have this ambition, you know, to become rich and whatever. But there's a kind of internal drive in me to contribute to something which is bigger than myself. And that drive has become stronger and stronger the older I get. That's really interesting. You say you're at the top of your career. I hope not.
Yes.
I hope to get further. I hope to be of more added value than I've been before, using the experience and the years of doing different issues so far, you know?
Yes.
So using that knowledge and experience. And how I came here, I think if you go back to my youth, my father was a person who always took responsibility. He was a Catholic, and when he was young and younger, and a father, there was still the times that there was quite a strong Catholic circle in the Netherlands. Yeah. And so he always took responsibility wherever he went and became connected to certain issues. He took responsibility, so he became a leader. He was a leader. And probably that is how you become a leader yourself, because you see leadership from your parents or others in your close environment that inspire you. And I always say also, when I look at my own kids, when you're raised into something, you can't escape that upbringing.
Yes.
So I couldn't escape my upbringing probably. And I'm from a family with 8 and we're all quite strong characters.
My goodness.
Yeah, 4 boys, 4 girls.
Really?
And we all have, maybe it's my Italian ancestors' blood or DNA.
From Africa, maybe.
Maybe I have even African roots, but you know, it's this drive and this passion.
Yes.
And also I make more noise than many other people. I use my hands talking. Yes. So something must be still there of my Italian ancestors. Okay. And that mixed with some Belgian and Dutch blood and whatever maybe the mix that made me to the person I am.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And so what has been the most vulnerable moment for you in all the years of your career?
My most vulnerable moment?
Yes.
There are always some vulnerable moments, but I think what my most vulnerable moment was when I left as the CEO of Cordate. Yeah, because that meant that I had to stand on my own feet for the really first time in my career. Because as a diplomat, I was, of course, member of the Diplomatic Corps of the Netherlands and Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I had a fixed job. Yeah. Yeah. But then I became the director of Cordate, and I left that fixed job. But I didn't feel it so much because I immediately fell into another job. But then when I left, all of a sudden I realized, like, whoa, now I'm on my own out here. So that was quite a moment of vulnerability. And you have to really get used to such vulnerability. Yeah. To stand on your own feet, to build up something of your own. And I became a interim director of the Netherlands Institute for Multi-Party Democracy. So that was a safe position set. And afterwards, unsafety again. And so you have to learn to deal with insecurity. And that is quite a lesson. I must say.
That is a big lesson.
It's a big lesson.
I can relate to that as well.
Yeah?
Yes. When I left my business back home in Nigeria and came over here, I was already leading a group of people and, I've built my personal brand. So when I moved to the Netherlands, I felt I had lost everything. Yeah. So I was almost depressed. So, but I had to rebuild myself. I realized that leadership is not about your position or title or where you work, but about how you can help to lift other people up with the experience and with all the things you've learned.
But also to lift yourself up, your personal leaddership. Because it's also a form of self-care, right? It is how do you get from that vulnerable position and feeling back to track in a way that you feel empowered again about what you're doing and about yourself.
And for our audience watching or listening who are struggling at this point of career change or loss of job, they don't know how to go out there to restart their life again, what would you, how did you overcome this and what would you advise them to do?
Well, of course, there are no fixed recipes, but I think you have to start early in life. Building up a network. Many women just work, but that's not enough. You have to build up a network. You have to diversify your network. You have to undertake action and activities outside of your direct working environment. Build friendships.
Yes.
Develop ideas. I'm an idea person. I always say, put me somewhere, give me an issue, and within 5 minutes, there's something going on in my head that starts bubbling and moving, and I develop ideas.
Good.
So that helps. That helps because the minute you have an idea, you build a dream, you can hold on to your dream. And I like dreaming, and I like dreaming big, and I like taking people along in my dream. And the minute you have a dream and people come along in your dream, then you get that feeling of empowerment already, because if you can make people believe that what you think is the right path forward or whatever, that is an empowering feeling. Okay. And so that helped me a lot. So now I'm developing this leadership for SDGs idea, and that helps me big time. Because I really believe in it. I think it needs to happen, and others believe in it as well.
That's already a leadership principle. Like if you're a leader and you need to have this bold vision or dreams, but the ability to bring others along with you, to follow you, is what will help you to implement and achieve great
you are no leader
ideas.
Without followers.
No.
Because what do you lead? Yourself? Well,
exactly.
That's already important, because I know ministers who were formerly leaders of ministries but who had never properly led themselves. So how to lead others then, right?
Yeah.
But but still it's difficult to then really develop something into action.
Yeah.
And I'm still working on that. but it's also a process, and it's exciting.
I think you're doing
love
very
that
well,
excitement.
Simone.
I hope so. I hope so.
So I've seen you, I follow you, and I see that you're a strong voice, not only for yourself, but for society. You speak about environmental issues, political issues, like you really care about society and human beings and the environment. How did you develop such a strong leadership voice? And what would you say is your leadership style?
Well, I think I developed that voice by looking at the situation of people in this world. And especially when I left the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but also already when I was in Macedonia and I saw the people. And if you look at people and you look them in the eyes, and that's an experience I had everywhere in the world. If you sit with people, and even if you don't speak the same language, but you look in their eyes, you can recognize each other. I also have discovered, and it's not very difficult to discover, but that we all have the same dreams wherever we live, wherever we come from.
Yeah.
And that especially when you talk about women in the world, I really believe in this international sisterhood, because we recognize one another on many issues that we face together, wherever we live, in whatever different circumstances, but the basics are the same. And I really felt that in Macedonia, and I really felt for the people, and I felt with them, and I felt that urge to stand with them. And I became a little bit of a kind of anchor for many people. I don't know how that happened, but maybe the right message, the right person, at the right moment at the right place, that kind of thing.
That's very powerful. But for you, did you receive any form of mentoring or support? What type of mentoring or support did you receive, as you climbed your
Not too much,
career? Not
to
too
be
much.
honest, no.
Oh.
No, I'm a kind of self-starting,
Yes.
self-energizing type of
I
person. When there's one ray of sunshine, I already feel that energy to keep on. But it would be really good. And at this moment, I have a fantastic supporter, and that is Helen Clark. She is the former Prime Minister of New Zealand and the former boss of the UN Development Programme. So she was the third person in the UN. She also ran to become the Secretary General.
Yes.
And she is a fantastic person. And she said, Simone, this is a niche that has to be filled, and I'm going to support you big time, and she does. So for me, that means the world. That somebody like her trusts me and also has been willing to support me from the start, and trusted me to be the person to drive this kind of message.
Wow, that's good. So powerful.
Yeah, that's powerful. So everybody needs somebody, You cannot do things alone.
I know everyone needs someone, but for our audience watching us or listening, how do you advise them, especially those in the public sectors? How do you advise them to find mentors?
Well, I think you have to look in the organization to find somebody, or outside of the organization to find somebody and approach that person. If people come across me on LinkedIn or other people and they think, oh my God, this is somebody I would love to talk to. I get people who approach me and ask, can we have a coffee? Because I have a few questions, and of course I do that. I drink coffees, lots of coffees. I'm a coffee kind of...
In Dutch, it's coffee drinking.
Coffee drink. I drink coffees all day. So, but I think that the main thing is to be yourself, to keep your spine straight, to develop yourself, to build that network, to reach out beyond your direct working environment, to be strategic. If you think small, you are small. If you start dreaming big, you start behaving bigger. So I think women have the tendency sometimes to be precise, conscientious, perfectionist, etc. It's not about that, because good is good enough. You don't have to be perfect. But I think developing big ideas and then follow through on them, that is important. And then you get to following yourself, and you also appeal to strong women who like to see other women become bolder. So then we get this domino effect of strength and power. And I mean, look at women in the world. Oh my so much better.
And you know, usually women, when they become leaders, they are judged harshly more than men.
Yeah.
For example,
True.
you never hear anybody saying the man is bossy, but somebody will say, ah, that woman, she's a bitch, she's bossy.
Yeah.
You know, what do you think about that? And how can we start changing these narratives?
That's terrible. I didn't believe it existed till I ran into it myself.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I because I've been raised by parents who didn't install this feeling of inferiority in me, but especially the higher you get, the more you ran into this. And I think that it has to do with jealousy, with the lack of. I also feel there's a lack of tolerance for intrinsic diversity, as I call it. So people have to be able to be really different from others, and there's a certain box. Also in a country like the Netherlands, a certain box that you fit in or you don't fit.
Yeah.
And I don't totally fit. And I've always felt, you know, I sometimes say it's a miracle that I've become an ambassador with my type of character. Yeah, seriously. But, you know, I felt that function that fit me as a glove. And I did very well in Macedonia. So it's not possible, it's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
And the same thing I noticed with some other positions.
Yeah.
And it's the people who look at you, who judge you in a certain way instead of judging what you're doing and the results you achieve. They look at you as a person. And if they cannot cope with types of personalities that they think don't fit the picture of leadership, then you have a problem. And I think that is that lack of understanding and acceptance of that intrinsic diversity, because you need to be able to be different from me, and still that we look at each other, we talk together, and we respect each other for who we are and what we do and what we try to achieve, right?
Yeah.
And even if you do things different from me and I do things different from you, you should be able to say, oh, I look at Simone, oh, she's doing it like this, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I open my eyes and I look at it and, oh, maybe there's something to it. And vice versa, of course.
Yeah.
But if you think that it needs to happen like this and there's no other alternative, and I think we have an issue these days with organizations that are stuck in systems, in ways of working and functioning that don't fit the 21st century anymore. The 21st century, in my perspective, nearly at the change of a century, I felt that it was a change of era. And much more horizontal, much more into networking, out of the box, with more responsibility for people, less in institutional frameworks, going through the motions of bureaucratic rules and regulations and thinking that would be enough to solve the issues of this time. And it's not the case. Look at the UN is in crisis. Look at all the other organizations that are in crisis. And why are they in crisis? Because they are not able to change fast enough. So we are in an age of transformation. And I think that transformation is not really... So organizations are lagging behind in adjusting to that transformation internally in ways of working. And you will see that many organizations won't be able to attract young, interesting people if they go on like this, because they don't want to work like that anymore.
And is that what you call intrinsic diversity? Can you tell me more about that?
Intrinsic diversity is about this frame that you have to fit in. So this is say a Ministry of Foreign Affairs or an organization. This is the frame you have to fit in. This is so it's a kind of cloning system that you're being put in. So if you don't fit the margins, you're not really acceptable. So you're being shut out. So and what you need is diversity. We had a really interesting event once, and I never forgot it. It was about the wisdom of crowds. Do you know the book? Carney Ross. The Wisdom of Crowds. It's been it's a really interesting book, and it's about the wisdom that a crowd, a large body of people has, much more than an individual.
Yes.
So they did all kinds of tests, small balls in a big ball, how many are there? And then the more people you got to answer that question, the closer you got to the answer. Yeah. But also when there was this horrible accident with one of the challengers which went off to the moon, it exploded in the air, right? Yeah. And all the stocks of all the companies who had built that thing went down, and they all recovered except for one. And it turned out that the reason why it broke down after takeoff had to do with the work that specific company had done. And there were people in the market, out there somewhere, who knew. And that's kind of the wisdom of crowds. So it's really interesting that still in these times when there's access to so much wisdom, knowledge and capacities out there in the world, that still a few people in countries think they know best. Yes. Isn't that strange? Yes. Know best? On the basis of what? So why don't we so that huge diversity that there's out there, we need to use much more. And still they're thinking in this small box. And you have to fit there. And I think that box is killing lots of creativity and passion and drive in young people, because they come in and they're being brought up in that professional box instead of being encouraged to grow, to become creative, to expand. Yes. They are being put in the box.
And this is what we tell our Rise and Lead women. Yeah, we tell our Rise and Lead women, to break free from the status quo. Rise up, raise your voice, speak where they think you shouldn't be speaking. Ask for what you want. Gain this confidence
and be strategic.
And be strategic. Yeah. So my next question to you is, there's so many reports about gender imbalance, especially in the top leadership. We're talking about gender equality even at this time.
There's so much work to do.
So what do you think? What can women do to really take matters into their hands so we can close this gender leadership gap?
Well, it's never going to happen if it's just women. Okay. The thing is that who are the power holders of today? That's not the women, unfortunately. So I believe in a much better balance between men and women. And yes, women will fight much harder to get to that balance. And they have been doing that for decades. It's not that women just rise and lead now. Women have risen and led like for decades already. And we have come far from the 60s, right? Yes. But still there's a huge path to go. And in many countries there are so much injustice against women. Yes. And they are being put in such a detrimental position. Okay. And so we have to work on the power holders. Okay. And it's really strange that all those women are being, don't get me wrong, huh? Yeah. I think, yes, encourage women, help them to become stronger, etc. But at the same time, we have to work on those guys.
How?
Who they feel threatened. They are on the defensive.
Yeah, how do we do that?
By making them see, that's also what my Leadership for SDGs thing is about.
We're going to talk about your leadership. Yes.
By making them see that it's a win-win situation and that it's totally unfair and that they can learn and enjoy better themselves and they can have better results and become better leaders if they share. And that really needs to happen. It's also unfair to women, say women ministers who are being trained and supported. Yes. And then, what is basically the message? You are responsible for your own career. And you cannot be responsible for you. You need support. And if you're being, if you get with your head to the ceiling, or you're being stuck, you get stuck in the mud from below.
The glass ceiling is real.
Yeah, or the mud that keeps you on your spot. So how can you, as a normal person, and not everybody is like this great, expansive leader, how can you, as a normal woman, get out of that? You need support also by the guys. And the guys need to create the space. In most situations, it's still the men who are in the lead.
During the last Rise and Lead Summit, we had this panel with men, and it was about inclusive leadership, how men can deal with their gender bias and provide equal opportunities for women. So we do the same at Rise and Lead. So on one hand, we are encouraging women to kind of live out their potentials, be their best. But we are also holding and advocating for organizations, highly dominated by men, to give women equal opportunities so that they can rise and lead. And so for me, because I know the time you have to run, one of my questions is, you've been moving on. You've been, you are going out there, you have a lot of commitments, you're a member of so many boards. I want you to tell me a little bit of leadership for SDGs, and also how do you observe self-care as a leader?
This leadership for SDGs has to do with the facts that I mentioned before, that I saw that we need different leadership in this world to make the world into a better place. Now, if we ever want to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, which basically is a beautiful, holistic, people-centered agenda where inclusiveness, gender equality, but also broader equality issues and people's rights are in the centerpiece, next to peace building. So sustainable, inclusive socio-economic development, that's the core, leaving no one behind. If we want that to happen, we need to work on leadership of countries. So that's my, basically you say USP, nobody does it. I just cannot understand that there is no system for support of political government leadership. And that's how I came to it. So I thought, why are all those CEOs trained and coached, and the boards of companies and all those poor ministers are out there with those huge and complex challenges? And we just leave them there, and we don't really help them in a sustained manner to become better leaders.
Okay, so
that's where it started.
Yes, because we don't have so much time anymore. How can our audience get involved with your projects for leadership for SDGs?
Well, I need access to governments in the world. I need people who have capacities to help me there. So it's not just simple volunteering, I think. I need people who know how to work on political issues, who know how to lobby, who can help me set up an organization. So it's but they can always address me, and we can see if we can work together. And yes, at this moment they need to volunteer because I don't have funding as yet. But in the end, I want to make this a sustainable business model. Because if you supply good products, and that is in my case then training, coaching, etc. And I'm going to organize, I'm not going to do it myself, I'm going to organize that system. Then government should pay for it. But of course I need a proof of concept, and that's what I'm working on at this moment, to get a proof of concept.
Thank you so much, Simone. Before I let you go, finally, because this show is all about inspiring future leaders and aspiring women leaders, what 3 pieces of advice would you give to our future leaders?
3 pieces? That's always so difficult,
Or one, whatever you feel like.
Well, I think you need to stay yourself, to stay with yourself. So keep your spine straight. Don't let you be lured into becoming somebody you're not. Stay yourself, stay strong. Guts, I think you need guts and courage. It's important to have guts and courage. Develop dreams and ideas. Hold on to them, live for them. And also build strong networks and cooperation with others. I think it's so empowering to work with others, to work in teams, to work with others, to learn from others, to have interactions. And that helps you also to grow, but also to keep hope in times of difficulty, right? And life goes as it goes. There's nobody who gets to the top who got it like this. So it always goes like this. And so you need to deal with disappointment sometimes. And then stand up again, straighten your shoulders, go.
Thank you so much. And so for our audience who have been listening or watching us, you heard her tips. You need to be authentic. You need to gain the courage to speak up and ask for what you want. You need vision and you need a strong network. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.